Here are 60 Hogwarts Legacy details you may have missed from the recent gameplay showcase. We'll start off our list in the Hufflepuff dorm room. And this room is full of tiny little details that longtime fans are going to absolutely love, starting with the fact that it appears we have a quaffle sitting on top of the wardrobe here. Even though Quidditch is not playable in Hogwarts Legacy, it is still expected to be part of the world, and perhaps we'll even be able to see other characters playing the sport. Also in the dorm room, it seems that pets are confirmed. We see an owl here. However, the character creator was also revealed in full as part of this gameplay showcase, and we did not see an area there to choose an owl, cat, or toad. Diagon Alley has yet to be confirmed, and it seems our character will be starting their Hogwarts journey in perhaps an unconventional manner that won't include a trip to the iconic location as it did with Harry. Perhaps this will actually be selected later in the game, or maybe even purchased in Hogsmeade instead. Now, throughout this entire gameplay showcase, you are going to notice a number of these little white indicators above various items, and anytime you see that, it means that this item can be interacted with. And one that I will call out here is this interactable teacup just next to the bed. Now, on the bedside table here, you may immediately look and see, oh, this must be chocolate frogs, and then Birdie bought every flavor beans. But notice that the design is just slightly different than what we're used to. What's interesting about this is that Birdie bought every flavor beans hadn't been yet invented by 1890, of course, when the game takes place. As far as chocolate frog cards go, the packaging is different here. However, this would actually be right in line with the canon. And talk about really getting in the weeds on all the details here, because this one actually comes to us through the Fantastic Beasts film, and it's a single shot of the cover of a Daily Prophet article. And this is actually from a 1926 copy of the paper, which talks about a new chocolate frog packaging being launched. Now, a lot of people in the fandom will say that the chocolate frog cards were not included up until this point, and they cite this article as a source for that. Now, it will be interesting to see if these chocolate frogs contain wizard cards or not. It's worth noting that we have not yet seen anything at all to indicate that wizard cards will be collectible in this game. And even if they are collectible, there would be a number of wizards that we know about from the main series who wouldn't be included at all because it simply hadn't taken place yet. Now, we also see that there is a Floo flame right here inside the common room, and we also learned that you don't have to do anything special to unlock these. You simply walk by and discover them in the world, and then they'll instantly be unlocked. Now, what isn't yet clear is if we'll be able to sneak into other common rooms, and if we do, can we discover their Floo flames and then use that as a way to get inside without having to go through the traditional measure of either a password for the case of Gryffindor and Slytherin, answering the riddle for Ravenclaw, or tapping the wall for Hufflepuff. Now, when they actually leave the Hufflepuff common room, we get another brief, tantalizing tease of the Hogwarts kitchens. That's right, longtime fans of the series will know that just behind this portrait of the fruit are the Hogwarts kitchens, which we have actually already seen. Very briefly, but we have seen a glimpse inside the kitchens here. Of course, we know that you get in here by tickling the pear. I love seeing that little tease from the devs as we were going through this gameplay showcase. Now, as we start going up the stairs, you'll notice everyone's favorite poltergeist sliding down the banister here very quickly. I actually missed this one completely the first time, and it wasn't until I watched it again that I caught Peeves sliding by right there. Now, once we reach the top of the staircase, we see an interesting prompt over here on the left side. Very briefly, we see the words roll appear on screen. Now, what do you think is meant by roll there? Is that going to be the start of a puzzle? Let me know down in the comments below. We also got our first look at some of the menus in Hogwarts Legacy, and I absolutely love the menu here that features the Hogwarts Legacy field guide, which we also learned in this gameplay showcase is given to us by the Ministry of Magic. As far as the story goes, it's pretty interesting to note that the Ministry of Magic is taking notice of our character, which makes me even more curious to see what happens at the beginning of that game to reveal our character's ancient magic, assumably for the first time. Now, when we get a look at this menu, you'll notice that the talents section is grayed out here, and you'll also see the text which reads, progress through the main story to unlock. So this indicates to us that the talents will not be unlocked right away, and it's something you'll have to play through the game a little bit before you open this up. Now, you'll also notice that they choose to separate out quests and challenges, which as a completionist has me really excited. I want to do absolutely everything that there is to see and do in this game, so to be able to track them easily through these two menus will be very nice. Now here in this next area, you'll notice a couple of crests that we have seen before in other areas of Hogwarts Legacy. It remains to be seen if these are just kind of here for decoration or if they're actually going to be connected to something in the story. Now earlier we talked about that little white indicator indicating that something can be interacted with. Here we see a slightly different gameplay effect with this sort of shining silhouette around this entire statue here, which to me indicates that it is something more than just an interactable object. Perhaps there's a secret entrance here or something else to be unlocked. Now in this shot here, just ever so briefly near the top of the screen, we will see this spinning ball, is what a lot of people are referring to it as. I actually think it is called an armillary sphere, and these were devices used in the 17th and 18th century to show the difference between the theory of a central Earth and the theory of a central sun. You'll notice here that we have a couple of stone dragons, and then what I believe is a Zuwu here. I know some people say Zawu, but I heard an interview with J.K. Rowling and she said Zuwu, so that's how I'm gonna pronounce it. Moving forward a little bit, and ever so briefly on the right side here, we'll see a statue of a werewolf. Now up next, one of my favorite parts in the gameplay showcase is we get a little preview of what I think is a puzzle for the game. In this next area, we have 4 braziers, each with a symbol on the front. Now 3 of these braziers are unlit. However, the last one that we get to on the left here, you will see is already lit. So I can't wait to find out what exactly is going to happen once we light all the braziers here. Now, a lot of times to make a game and a world just feel alive, it's all of the little details. So right here at this section of the showcase, I love that we see students flying overhead on brooms. We already know flying is in the game. We're going to be able to fly ourselves, including these various challenges that we're going to be able to do. But to see that this is a living, breathing world, I mean, I don't know if that was scripted or if every time we're outside in Hogwarts, we're just going to notice random students kind of flying around. That's what I hope it is, because it is such a nice touch. Now, also in this little scene right here, there was a lot happening at this part, guys. Game director Alan Tudyk dropped what I think is one of the biggest bits of news from this entire showcase, and it's when he said everything you see is a place that you can visit. So all of this that we see here outside of Hogwarts is a place that we're going to be able to go to and check out. Of course, we already know about Hogsmeade. What else is lying out there in the ground surrounding Hogwarts? Now, also in this same little section right here, we have this rain cloud just, I don't know, raining randomly. So maybe the start of another puzzle. Now, in terms of making that world feel alive, this living and breathing world, we talked about the people on broomsticks already, but how about this Ravenclaw student right here? Just carrying what, I don't know, a giant tablet, a giant book along with this quill. And seeing this makes me wonder, are we going to have NPCs with various routines that they follow throughout the game? Perhaps even story elements. Now, this is something that games have been doing for a long time. Legend of Zelda started doing it. I mean, I remember it all the way back in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. It was one of the most jaw-dropping pieces of that game, is when you had these characters with these little routines that you could only access certain parts of a quest if it was at a specific time of day, at a specific moment within their routine. Now, there's another one here we're going to talk about toward the end of the video that I'll mention as well. And of course, I don't expect that every single NPC we meet is going to have just this routine. Of course, there's going to be some randomness to it, but I'm hopeful that there are at least a few characters roaming about the world who have special time-based quests. Now, as they're looking out here over the terrain surrounding Hogwarts, you'll also make out the greenhouse just here on the right side. Then, moments later, we actually get a look at what this looks like from inside the castle here. So this here, the entrance to the greenhouse, just absolutely gorgeous. And the color scheme, the color palette right here, of course, matches that exact same green that we saw from the outside. Now, just when they make their way into this next area, we see an incredible tapestry featuring a Hebridean black dragon. Now, I don't know about you guys, but at this point, I think they're trying to tell us this dragon is somewhat significant. We have seen the Hebridean black dragon in so many different places. From the original trailer of the game, we even see a Hebridean black dragon skeleton in Professor Hecat's Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom. We've also seen a skeleton of it outside here. We've seen it in screenshots. I mean, we have seen this dragon so many times now. So the fact that we see it yet again here on this tapestry tells me that this could be a significant piece to the puzzle in Hogwarts Legacy. Now, this next scene is one of my favorite parts of the entire trailer, because I gotta be honest with you guys, I am terrible with directions. Seriously, absolutely terrible. I know some people don't like the waypoints in games and feel that it kind of breaks the immersion, but honestly, I need that stuff, guys. My wife has always given me a hard time about this, because even in real life, I mean, I just constantly terrible sense of direction. So this area I found particularly interesting because one of the developers, Boston Madsen, called this area the hub of the school. Grand Central Station is another phrase she used for it. And what I thought was so interesting is that she talked about how they designed this to where people will not get lost. And the primary way they're doing that is through the use of color to help out with directions. We already talked about the greenhouse house in that certain color palette. But the way she described this here, essentially after you make your way through here a few times, you should start to get just sort of a natural feel for where things are supposed to be. So I gotta tell you, me, more than any other, I'm gonna be the one to put this to test. We'll see if I can actually find my way around the school. We should also point out that community manager Chandler Wood said they still get lost in the castle all the time. Now, in this hub area, we also see a number of Latin phrases written here. Now, one of these in particular will be very familiar to Harry Potter fans, and it's this one here, which means never tickle a sleeping dragon. Then we have this one here, and you guys notice I'm not even gonna try and pronounce these, but this one means perpetual learning. This one, by teaching, we learn. Another here, let knowledge be power. And then the last one here, through difficulties to honors. Now, I know earlier we talked about that little white dot, which indicates an interaction. And I haven't been calling out everything, but I want to call out this one in particular because I've seen a lot of people requesting sitting. Can we sit in this game? Which I personally find kind of a strange request, but hey, some people may just want to sit down, relax for a bit, just listen to the ambience, listen to the music, listen to the chatter in Hogwarts Legacy. And so this one here actually makes me think we might be able to sit down because ever so briefly we see it right there, and notice it's not up on the fountain, it's actually down where the bench is. Of course, it could be something involving the fountain, but hopefully for all those people who want to be able to sit, maybe this will actually let you do it. Now, speaking of that fountain, we also see a number of magical creatures here, starting with the unicorn and yet another werewolf. It appears that the goblins are actually positioned here, and then we also have some mer people going around the edges. It's also interesting to note that of the 4 creatures here, only the goblins have been officially confirmed to be in Hogwarts Legacy. So it'll be interesting to see whether unicorns, werewolves, or mer people make an appearance as well. Now, in this next shot here, we get a first look at what quest givers will look like in Hogwarts Legacy, as indicated by this little golden ring around them. Now, here in this shot, we get a look at the field guide page. You'll notice a couple of these in the trailer. I'm not going to call out every one of them. Now, this next symbol right here is a symbol that we have seen a number of times now. It appears to be a triangle, a circle, and then a question mark in the center. You'll see one here on the right if we were to go up the stairs, and then also one here on the right at the bottom of the stairs. And then to the right of that, we see a door that could possibly be an entrance to the Ancient Runes classroom. Now, if you're thinking you've seen something very similar before, you're right. In the developer behind the scenes video, we see what I think is the other side of this door, the inside of the Ancient Runes classroom. Now, what's also interesting about this is each of these magical creatures indicate a number. We have the demiguise here for 0, unicorn for 1, graphorn for 2, runespore for 3, fwooper for 4, quintuped for 5, salamander for 6, an unknown creature for 7, acromantula for 8, and a hydra for 9. Now, another interesting detail about this gameplay showcase is that it seems like every student that we interact or do battle with in this gameplay showcase has an exact name, including one Hector Weasley. Wait, what? Okay, guys, if you missed this one, I forgive you. So our boy James, aka Expecto Go, recently posted his behind-the-scenes video from his time at Avalanche. And there's a brief moment here where you can see that he's having a meeting with the devs while there is the game playing in the background, and it honestly blows me away that people found this. I didn't even think to try and zoom in on the TV screen here, but if you zoom in, it seems like there is a moment where the player character is doing battle with a wizard by the name of Hector Weasley. Now, once we actually start interacting and talking with the students, an interesting detail is dropped. That's right, she mentions former headmistress Eupraxia Mole. Now, I've told the story a number of times on the channel. Eupraxia Mole is the one who had an incredible event with Peeves the Poltergeist. Seriously, it's a hilarious story, guys, about the caretaker at the time and how he thought he could get rid of Peeves. Yeah, didn't work out so well, and Eupraxia Mole, headmistress at the time, had to solve everything and come to a deal with Peeves. Now, just a couple of lines later, she also mentions Professor Black, who is highly likely to be Phineas Black, and the fact that Mole was a former headmistress makes it even more likely that Phineas Black is our headmaster during our time in Hogwarts Legacy. All right, yet another detail about the world just feeling alive. Check out this kid in the background here. If you're wondering what is going on with him here, it is most likely a pepper-up potion. So this is a potion that wizards and witches used for the common cold. One of the unfortunate side effects, though, is that it would cause steam to emit from the drinker's ears for hours after taking the potion. So don't worry, I think he's gonna be all right. Now, this next spot here where our character is getting ready to walk into this door, one of the most interesting things of this entire showcase happens, because from what I can find, it's the only time we see this. Notice right down here on the left side by the minimap, we get a brief pop-up with a named location. And it appears that this happens when the character is going into this new area. Now, I looked throughout the whole gameplay showcase and did not find anywhere else where this happens, even when our character goes inside and outside of areas. So I'm not sure if something specific triggered here. Maybe this is the first time they discovered it, or maybe there's something else going on and I'm just kind of misreading the situation. But it's also interesting to note the name, which is Hall of Herodiana? Herodiana? Yeah, I looked for references, guys. Couldn't find anything to Harry Potter, so they must be pulling from something else here with this one. Any thoughts you have, I'd love to hear them in the comments below about what this could be a reference to. Now, we'd seen a brief shot of a howler before in another Hogwarts Legacy trailer, but we see one over here on the left side, and the students are just kind of cowering before this one. Now, we know there are going to be plenty of secrets hidden throughout Hogwarts Legacy, so check out this one right here. A chest just blending in perfectly here in the back corner. That brown, along with the brown of the wall, makes that one so hard to notice. I also love just outside the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom and all throughout the classroom, we have dark detectors. Now, what's interesting about dark detectors is it's not just one thing. There are several different devices which actually qualify as dark detectors. We have the faux glass, which we know about thanks to Barty Crouch Jr. pretending to be Mad-Eye Moody in Harry's 4th year. Another one called a probity probe, secrecy sensors, sneakoscopes, and then the one we see here, a trace tracking dark detector. Now, these were actually featured somewhat prominently in the Harry Potter mobile game Wizards Unite. Now, this classroom is actually full of so many details, you guys. It would take me forever to go through all of them. I'm just going to highlight a couple here, starting with the fact that this door actually appears like it is interactable. So perhaps at some point we'll actually be able to go into Professor Hecat's private study here. We also see a drawing of a thestral on the wall here, a statue here that is very similar to the ones that we found in the Slytherin common room, and then the one that I just cannot figure out what this is. I mean, it looks like a house elf when you're right here, which creepy. But then we move forward just a bit, and this one here, sitting up a little bit higher on the shelf, we kind of see it from a different angle, and this one almost looks like a beaked mask instead of a house elf. Really hoping it's a beaked mask here. Now, we also get a portrait here of Wendelin the Weird, who was a witch in the 14th century. She was captured no less than 47 times in various disguises because she actually enjoyed being burned at the stake. She would use a flame freezing charm, which would give a pleasant tickling sensation. All right, this next one, I really need your help again, guys. What is this head? I mean, that's all I can think. It looks like a giant head. I know it's obviously not this, but the first thing I thought of was the big head on Fred and George's shop. I have no idea what this one could be. Now, earlier, we talked about the possibility of students having various routines that they carry throughout the day. Notice here that we have another student who appears to be carrying something. Can't quite make out what it is. Maybe it's an owl cage that's been wrapped up in a package. Here we have yet another tool to hopefully help us find our way around the castle with a compass on the floor. Could possibly use this to help find a certain location, and then we also have the GPS map here in the bottom left of your screen. Now, just as our character makes their way through here, we get a brief glimpse at a locked door which reads level 1 lock. So is this going to be Alohomora, or is there going to be something else that we have to learn to get through here? The fact that it's level 1 could indicate that there are going to be various upgrades we need to apply on spells to make them stronger. Now, we talked about Peeves earlier. We saw him briefly. We get another look at him here, a little bit longer than the first one, and of course, he's doing what he does best, just messing with students, making their lives miserable. Now, my biggest question here about Peeves is, are these scripted events, or is it just completely random? Because I am just loving the idea of Peeves just having his own kind of AI where he roams about the castle at will, and you never know when you're going to run into him. I think that would be great. Now, as we make our way into the Crossed Wands Dueling Club, if you look closely over here on the right, you'll notice the little shine of yet another locked door. Now, there's been a lot of talk about companions lately. I actually think they're going to be changing that terminology to relationship instead, and part of my reasoning for that is this moment right here. Notice after we talk with Luke and Brattleby here, we get the pop-up on the top right corner of the screen, which says complete side/relationship quest. Now, speaking of the companions, 2 of the confirmed companions are Nat Sioni and Sebastian Sallow. Now, we see them here in the Crossed Wands Dueling Club and have a moment where we could actually choose to have one of them as our partner in the duel, or no one at all. Now, because of the way this gameplay showcase was set up, there was a lot of talking over the actual gameplay, so we didn't get to hear a lot of what was going on. Now, I actually interviewed Expecto Go about his time at Avalanche. One of his favorite parts is the sound, the ambient noise, the sounds of conversation going on, happening in Hogwarts as you're walking around. Unfortunately, this did not come through well on the stream. However, around the 30-minute mark, there is a brief moment while Chandler Wood, community manager, is talking, that if you listen very carefully, you can actually hear one of these conversations happening between Sebastian and Natsai.
Mini tour of Hogwarts, and again, it was is but a fraction of this enormous castle. But we're closing it out here in the clock tower, so another recognizable location, but this is where...
Shout out to Eugene the Magical over on Twitter for that one, by the way. Now, we also got our most extensive look yet at spells and combat in Hogwarts Legacy. I'm actually going to have a whole separate video breaking combat down, but one thing that you very easily could have missed here about the controls is that there is a brief moment where they show us that R3 is going to be the button that you use to lock on to characters in the game, and then you can kind of flick left and right using R3 to cycle between different enemies. There are also multiple spell types in the game that they had to break into different categories. 3 of the categories mentioned were damage, force, and control. Now, we also got to look at some shields that enemies are going to have during the game. These are also color-coded, and it requires a spell of that same color, so basically the spell that falls in that category, to break them. So my personal guess is that damage is going to be the red, purple is likely to be the force spells like Accio and Depulso, and then yellow, I'm guessing, is going to be the control spells like Levioso. And again, I know it's Leviosa, but guys, Wingardium Leviosa and Levioso, different spell. Now, they only briefly teased this little symbol right here, which if you've been following the game for any amount of time, you know is the ancient magic symbol. They're still kind of being coy, being secretive on what exactly that's going to trigger. I think we've already seen some of what it triggers in the other trailers, but it seems that we actually build this meter up by performing combos. We can see the combo meter building up at various points in this gameplay showcase. Game director Alan 2 also called some of the spells essential spells and said they wanted these on the controller at all times. One of these is going to be Protego, which is triggered by pressing the triangle button if you're a PlayStation user. Y for Xbox, and for PC, who the heck knows at this point. Now, if you didn't watch this all the way to the end, there was a very quick trailer they played which showed a couple of new things, including a different owl than what we saw at the very beginning of this, which to me seems to confirm that this is a changeable pet, something that we, the player, can choose. Again, the question is when and how. We also talked earlier about all the names for the students in Hogwarts. It also seems like our enemies are going to have titles as well, but not specific names. Here we just see Ashwinder Scout and Ashwinder Ranger. Now, the Ashwinder is a magical creature from the Harry Potter series that is a thin, pale gray snake with glowing red eyes. And these creatures would actually be formed from the remains of a magical fire that was essentially allowed to burn unchecked. This little trailer at the end also showed us a few more details about the minimap, including the fact that enemies will show up as red arrows, and also for some reason the Room of Requirement does not show up on the minimap. Now, one thing you'll notice I did not talk about much in this video is the Hogwarts Legacy character creator. That's because I already have a full video dedicated to the breakdown of that, which you can check out on the right side of your screen now. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.